we've got a lot of neighborhood streets that can be used, and room for bike lanes in places. I think here we go. We got some people coming.
So the other day I went over to where the Kinley Trail's blocked off at that bridge
Oh yeah.
for the construction.
I need to
They
say.
made that a little farther, but the kids going to school, the bike kids,
Yeah, right.
they just pick their bike up and go over the top. They just hoist over the fence and keep on riding.
Where is this?
You know what, that's over here on Tyler. Go up Tyler about a half mile, then there's a bridge.
Oh
It's
yeah.
blocked off on the trail. So I looked and I thought, wonder what they do. So what their kids are doing is picking their bikes up and just stepping over the
Toss them
bridge.
over.
And going on.
Excellent.
I thought, well, that's good.
Well, you gotta.
My bike.
That's the thing. You gotta learn by doing. You gotta. I think we should have everybody in the city council just try to walk like from one place to another in the thing. Hey, we're recording, by the way, so be careful what you say bad about anybody because you're on camera now.
So red is on?
I think red is on. It was green earlier. I made note of it. The room was dark and it was green. So yeah, we weren't sure, but we are live.
If you can find it.
What's
I learned
that?
last month, it's hard to
Oh
find.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is a little tricky.
Tried to
So.
pull it up, and I couldn't find it. I'm sure it's out.
I wish that we could do virtual. We can't because it's like against some ordinance somewhere. You probably know, AJ. You've
I couldn't tell you straight off.
dove deep into the esoterica of the city ordinances and bylaws. So, okay, it's 6:30. Can I get a I guess we'll call this meeting to order here. Do you need a motion to call it to order?
We can find a quorum.
Okay. Well, we found a quorum, I believe. We've got 8 out of 10. Looks like so. So we've got a quorum. We'll approve previous minutes here shortly. But I thought first we'll just welcome, we've got some new members. We've got Keith Duncan and Stacia Adams. We have another new member who got stuck in Dallas with all the weather. So Wes Pruitt was not able to make it today. But and we have a member that we haven't seen yet in Dustin. So I don't know whether he's coming yet. Have you talked to him?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so we'll see, I guess, whether Dustin is here or not. So yeah, we've got 2 more open spots, by the way. Like this is probably for later in the meeting, but I'll go ahead and mention it. There are 2 more open spots, so I think we're working on the release for that to do that. So if you know anybody that you'd like to join you on the board here, then think of somebody to ask.
Are those public school?
Okay, so this is a good.
We can address it.
We can
later
address it
if you want to.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So first thing is the minutes. I thought these minutes looked really good. So we just need to approve them. But I thought Kayla, you did a good job with your minutes. So thank you for doing that. So any questions about minutes from anybody?
Make a motion to approve the previous minutes as submitted.
Second.
All right, a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Oh, he's got his notebook and everything.
I do, I'm ready this
Okay,
time.
Awesome, perfect. So we talked about a few things on the last meeting. We can kind of bring those up quickly. I think we'll probably punt some of these until all of us are here. But we talked a little bit about, we've been working on kind of this plan to kind of get more bike lane delineators out in where we normally have just sort of unprotected bike lanes to kind of get them protected. There are a number of reasons why the bike lane protection that we have on Donahue right now is getting good feedback in some ways, but it's also hard with the street sweepers. And so Terry's indicated that, hey, if we want to give in more places, but that street sweeper issue is an issue. I took some initiative and created a thing called a lane block, which we're trying to get piloted here, which is basically a smaller bike lane delineator. So not sure that will be the final shape or size, but we're trying to get a test going in the city. one thing we could potentially do today is like, I mean, Terry, maybe you can provide an update on this and kind of where you feel like the city is just in general with the issue of bike lane protection and kind of what you think the city's open to.
Yeah, right now, just trying to identify a street that's relatively short in length. One of the streets I have in mind is Hairston, but it's we're trying to figure out if it's scheduled for an overlay. Relatively short, quarter mile or so in length, so we can test these and, and then see if cyclists feel safe, to see if the street sweepers can sweep and all that and get feedback, because we can get a lot of protected bike lanes for the cost of, two of those small sweepers to do like Donaghy, you're looking at a couple $100,000. We could do miles of protected bike lanes with those. And I've done a little bit of like pre-work in Northwest Arkansas, looking at how some of the other streets are done. And I think there's a lot of potential for those. So to the point where there's even a community in Northwest Arkansas that might be interested in them too. So.
Yeah, so and we're looking at a couple of other different sizes too, like a half size. So we'll figure out something, try to make it as economical as possible. I, obviously have since I sort of made them, I have a kind of a vested interest. So I'm trying to like maintain some level of objectivity about it and make sure that it's not that it's the right solution for Conway, now I'm trying to design it so that it's the right thing for Conway and so that Conway can say yes to it, right? Is ultimately what is the way I look at it. And if Conway will say yes, then presumably other people will. But I don't want to like let my interest in this like cloud my judgment in any way. But I do think we need protected bike lanes, which is the whole reason why I started the thing to begin with, to try to do it. So, but yeah, so I mean, I think that would be something to just keep in mind for people of where we can put these. I think Hairston is probably the best spot in the sense that it's on Redden's route. It connects Hendricks to the trail. There's a lot of people that could use that. I still think we need to relook at the hawk that crosses Hairston and Donaghy. Like, I really want to make that a priority because, like, every time I ride that, like with my family, like it's a problem to cross that for people that are using it, whether they're using the bike lanes or not. Hey, did you have any other like routes in mind or places in mind where we could potentially test some lane protection?
Robinson, I believe, was one. I think that was kind of the biggest one that I had. I think anything where I think they help to kind of separate the bike lane from the road, but they also would kind of help discourage parking by helping to separate the lane. So not just separating bikes from traffic, but parking from. Yeah. So I think Robinson,
But Davis
section.
Davis might be too long then.
Davis? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say any of those kind of like old town Conway streets.
To me, it'd be a stretch.
I think it needs to be a little higher traffic than Davis.
Yeah.
So
Davis, you can ride down the middle of the road in Davis.
Davis could almost be a bike boulevard, really, right?
Yeah. So Robinson, I think, would be my other.
No, I think that's a good recommendation. When are we going to know on the recap?
I've got a meeting with the street department next week, so I may know something as early as next week.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, I think you'd made a point at some point, Terry, but like, it's like, hey, if it does have to recap, we have to scoop them up, or if we need to do something that's a little like we use butyl tape or something like that, that's a little more temporary. Like, that's not a 5-year solution, but it's volunteers could put them down or something that it's not like dealing with epoxy. Yeah. That might be, it wouldn't add a ton of cost, and then volunteers could put them down, and then we just scoop them back up and figure out what to do if it needed to get recapped.
Like in Northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville used volunteers to put down whenever they're trying to test new solutions for bike lanes. They've done it with volunteers. Just to, I've not talked to the city. I think they're more than willing to
Put them down.
to put them down, but if it comes down to it, then we might have to do like a volunteer work day to.
Well, I'm just trying to think of a way to like, if it's like, hey, it's got to get scheduled or whatever, like, hey, it's 6 months out and then it's going to get recapped. And it's just like, well,
I think that's an awesome idea. It's kind of like the pop-up bike lanes. I think Little Rock has done a few.
Yeah.
Kind of get some community buy-in. So I like that idea.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we can look at that. I'm trying to source right now a couple of different tape related options just to see if it's, I got some permanent tape from 3M that didn't survive last night's rain when I glued it down to my street in front of me. So it took quite a bit of rain, but I think the butyl tape might be, the butyl tape's used a lot on the little reflectors. So that may be an option. The other side of this program is what, I don't know, we don't really have a name for it, bike boulevards, green streets, but we basically identified, AJ and I spent a fair amount of time and have identified like something like 60 miles of residential streets that would really are great for riding, but people just don't necessarily know that you can ride Mitchell all the way from Mill to UCA. And it's just like, it's like being on a bike path, right? Like there's no traffic. It's really great, but people don't know about these. There's like 60 miles of this in Conway. And if we just could find a way to delineate them some way, maybe again, volunteer with some paint to go and put, signs on them to say, we can also upload it into Google Maps. So I don't want to derail other conversations that we're having about these things, but I think we have the bones of a really, really good bike network in Conway. And so I think it's important to kind of keep pushing on this like strategically. So we can return to that. I guess let's just look at the recap schedule and I'll research some more temporary options, Terry, and then we can figure what we want to do from there. Next thing on my list is that Harrison Street crossing. Kind of, Peter was sort of involved with that before. Do you know whatever happened with doing the Hawk at Harrison? Was it because there's not a sidewalk? I think they were like thinking of it as a pure pedestrian thing.
That's the issue. There's not a sidewalk there, so to put a flashing beacon, it kind of goes against whether it's NACTA or ASHTO or whatever. So I don't know. I just got to have some more discussion about it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's for bikes, not for cars, right? So that would be the thing.
I did see like a beacon where like the sign was whenever you hit it, it actually had the picture of a bike that illuminated.
Okay.
So I think there's a way around it.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, since it's not necessarily a pedestrian
crossing where whenever you hit it, it's a picture of a bike.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really the point of these, and frankly, with some of the bike boulevard things, like if you're taking Mitchell and you got to cross, College or Robinson or whatever, having something that's really a bike crossing, more than anything else, like we have on the trail, it's more multi-purpose.
There'd have to be lines painted on the road or that painted, because I honestly question that area if people would even stop, even if you have a flashing beacon.
Always something, isn't there? We have a bunch of bylaws changes that we walked through at the last meeting. We did not have enough people to pass those bylaws changes. I think we do have enough people to pass those bylaws changes now, but several of you have never had any chance to have any input on those bylaws changes. So I think, and I'm still waiting for word on the city. One of the big open items, like most of the things in the bylaws change were fairly straightforward. We used to have a bunch of members who were basically ex officio members. Like the mayor was like officially ex officio part of this. We had a bunch of like city folks that were a part of this before we had a bicycle coordinator, and they never showed up. And so like they're there. We actually had to change the bylaws during a dramatic session to try to like make sure that we could ever have enough quorum to do it. So like it was kind of a pain. They are getting removed and basically turned into all of that interfacing directly with Terry as the bicycle coordinator technically. And then there's this question of we have members that are designated to be associated with like schools in particular and like pedestrian interests. And the city may be interpreting those as that somebody that is representing the schools, let's say you have an interest in the schools, you care about schools, you've got kids or grandkids in the schools, you care about them, right? Well, you don't count because you're not in Conway Public Schools at this very moment, right? So it's like, that's kind of the way the city's interpreting it, and it's like, but that doesn't seem right. So I'm not really sure that that's the way that they're going to fall on it. So I'll follow back up on that, and we'll just push it to next time. I'll send out the bylaws changes so that everybody can see the red line on it, and if we have any comments, we can. I don't know that we really even get any say in changing. I mean, we can change our bylaws, but ultimately, if we try to change them in ways that violate city ordinances, then the city will kick them back to us. So, but we'll just try to make that clear.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, other than the things I pointed out to you, I don't think any of the suggestions were in violation of any ordinances that I'm aware of.
No, that's I think we'll be okay. I just want to get that designation thing clear because it's basically what the city was saying is, well, we couldn't take this person because the open spot is the school spot and we need to get somebody from the school, even when you've got somebody that's interested in being the school person, but they're like, I'm on the PTO. Well, that doesn't count, right? Like that seems like a very rigid reading of our bylaws, but it may be an ordinance or something like that. Like I can tell I'm getting I'm getting AJ's
not
ordinance.
that I'm aware of. So I mean, we have people who are self-proclaimed bicycle representatives.
Yeah.
So I don't know why a pedestrian.
Because they paid $10 to become a part of the.
Well, no, it's not even cab. You don't have to be a cab member. So there's 2 members that are bicycle representatives from a bicycle advocacy organization, which is CAB. I think the pedestrian representatives they're not a part of any organization. There's no
official
requirement.
Pedestrians. They have to walk here.
Right. Yeah.
You make them park across the street.
And as far as the public school, I don't know. They need to be those positions need to be advertised though. There is an ordinance that specifies, how long we have to fill it and how it's to be advertised and all that. So,
We'll get there.
We'll figure
And
it
we're
out.
gonna have 11 too, so you're
That'll be a good day.
we'll get it. One of these days, we'll get 11 here. Okay, I've got a note to follow up with Felicia tomorrow on that. So anyway, there you are, folks.
And we're at 9 currently. Is that?
We were at 9. Although one of our new folks hasn't been here yet, so Dustin, if you're listening, you really need to be. Don't write that down.
May or may not exist.
I don't know. We don't know if it exists. I think it exists. This was a surprising meeting with this weird, being the 16th of February and being the third Thursday. Like I was a little bit caught off guard by that. But yeah. New business, new board members. We've already done introductions. Wes was not able to make it because he got trapped in traffic, and Dustin will hopefully join us soon. So hopefully he's alive. I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
He's fine. He texted me.
Oh, did he really? Okay, that's fine.
So long.
I don't know. I'm just having fun. So, okay, so Tara, you have a bunch of updates. So I've got them here. I
Yeah.
can just start them, and you can kind of talk about them.
Okay.
The Prince Country Club roundabout. This is why I was trying to attach to the screen, but it was not cooperating with me. So this is a new roundabout at Prince and Country Club. I had a question about the and if we do need to provide, like, this is our opportunity to provide input on this and any concerns that we've got. I'd asked about what the plan was for cyclists. Terry, can you go into that, that plan there?
So the plan, so there's bike lanes there that as you enter the roundabout, you have a choice as a cyclist that you can still maintain your position and take the lane on the road and travel through the roundabout. However, like if I'm traveling with my family per se, there's transitions up onto the sidewalk where you enter the sidewalk and then you will cross at the crosswalks as a pedestrian. And then there'll be another transition, whichever exit you take, where you could transition back out into the bike lane.
Mm-hmm.
And does that show in the drawing at all?
No, the drawing does not show that. I had
The
to ask
sidewalks,
for,
okay.
yeah, I had to ask for clarification. It just shows the sidewalks and the transitions.
Okay.
You can see the transitions. And then I just had to ask for clarification on how that's going to interact with bikes.
When you say transitions, how far is that? That's the piece I'm looking at, the square that's at the end of this, isn't it? Like,
Little islands that
Yeah,
come
no,
out.
it's
like past the island,
So I
Assume
like that. Is that a transition?
think that's the transition up onto a sidewalk,
Okay.
because that's your crossing
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. So this is where
I'm gonna try this.
It
one.
is, yeah, it's positioned further back where, kind of where the, kind of before, I'd say about the place where the cars yield or whatever.
right before you
There's this one, but it worked last time, but it's not working.
Is it similar to the transitions like on Prince? Like the roundabouts on Prince with the sidewalk runs along it?
I'm just trying to remember those, like I ride them all the time, but I just kind of stay in the lane on those and haven't paid attention to the transitions. I know the new roundabout on Donaghy and, is it College, Donaghy and College? It's kind of similar to that, except what's confusing about that, to use as an example, is we have the shared use path up on the sidewalk. But how, once you get to it, you interact the same way as you do in that one, because that, even though you have the shared use path that goes in front of the college, whenever you get there, you act as a pedestrian. You go through the pedestrian crosswalks to get around the roundabout, basically. So it's the same as that one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I guess my question is, because there's not currently bike lanes into that intersection on Country Club, correct?
There are bike lanes on Country Club.
I think they kind of disappear once, well, they're on Country Club, but don't they disappear once you get to the intersection?
They start about 50 feet back.
Yeah,
They stop right there by the school, I think.
They're pretty close.
Yeah, they get you pretty close.
Right. So the transition's going to be 50 feet back
It's
to
gonna
either
be-
take the lane or
I
to
don't have the exact measurements, but
It's fun.
where they currently end, basically.
yeah, it'll
is where it's
be
gonna go.
close to that. Yeah,
And then for
the bike
Prince-
lane should carry you to the transition.
Yeah.
Just stop. I think the transition stops right there at the school.
Yeah.
Before you get to the intersection.
Yeah. And then Prince, I mean, there's not bike lanes on Prince at
Not
that
school,
point.
church. Like,
Oh, here we go. These are the transitions you're talking about.
Mhm.
Yes.
So you would ride,
I mean, that's for pedestrians, though. That's like for
Right.
sidewalks.
I don't know
Yeah.
why do those things having so many problems?
So my feedback was that those would need to be. This is obviously preliminary, not approved. I think they're 80% done with the design on this, and my feedback would be those transitions maybe need to be a little bit wider, because they're at a 90-degree angle. That's sidewalk.
No,
Oh.
like that little
Yeah,
parallel.
what is that?
That's what I was asking, like, what is that?
That would make more
Is
sense
that
as like a
The
transition.
transition?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
That could be.
Mhm.
So I guess our feedback at this point is
Yeah.
making sure that it's a nice, clean, easy transition to the sidewalk so that people know they could come in.
That my question is if that was the actual transition that I don't really see it in the other ones.
But there's something here,
It's
but
on
it
the
doesn't look
corner.
like these.
There's one up there.
Yeah.
I would, yeah, that kind of seems like a transition.
Like the first one definitely looks like a sidewalk, but I don't know what that second piece is.
Yeah, this says sidewalk.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is all sidewalk and it's wide.
Is this like our one shot for input?
We can do it in email.
Well, I mean,
He's
if
fine doing it.
the input is you know, we have questions on, we can have continued dialogue on it. It's not-
it's hard to have input here without knowing what exactly all these the pieces are here. That's kind of what I'm feeling like.
Well, what about the bicycle overpass that goes in the clover loop that we
Yeah.
add, you know, it's got the
Right.
escalator type thing so that it's easier to go up hills. That's what I was thinking we were doing.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a different plan I was thinking about. But yeah, I think that
Yeah.
let's try to get some clarity on it. This doesn't look terrible to me if you can easily join in at an angle and get onto a sidewalk and then you have a clean crossing and then can sorry about this, guys. Not used to doing this at an angle. Yeah, that wouldn't be terrible, I don't think. But I don't think we can tell from this. This also feels too narrow here. Like if bikes are supposed to go on here and then this is a dip, that feels like it's a point that somebody could struggle and fall into the lane there. You know what I mean? If you really only can ride on this
Yeah,
much.
those need to be wider to allow
Yeah, for
cyclists to enter.
I guess it's only one direction would be going this way, so it's not bi-directional, but still, it feels like if somebody's waiting to cross here, then a cyclist has no
room to move.
no room. It needs to be a little wider here. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look bad to me. If that's right. So I guess let's just go back. Can you do that, Terry?
Yeah.
Okay. AJ, do you have any other concerns on that?
No, yeah, I'm just curious what I don't know, yeah, it seems like any kind of if you're riding on Prince Street, like it seems like the transitions are going to be most useful on Country Club, because if you're riding on Prince Street, I doubt someone's going to go from riding on Prince Street to taking the sidewalk to try to cross.
All the way over here.
Yeah, if you're riding on Prince Street, then you're riding on the road. You know, you're not going to go take a sidewalk.
Well, yeah, and
Unless you're going down Country Club.
kind of like, you know,
I think it's still yeah.
one of the points, like if you're traveling with a family, you're not riding down Prince Street. So.
Right. So this is probably a moonshot. I mean, my preference would be to have, you know, the outer an outer ring more like Dutch style, where the sidewalk, there's a raised path that essentially is the pedestrian and cyclist path.
On the entire outside?
Yeah. But, you know, I'll let somebody else pitch that.
That's basically just out.
Right, exactly. And it would be raised and, you know, a different color.
How far different is that from this?
Well,
I think you
got
could
to
do
think
it.
about traffic maneuvering, truck traffic maneuvering. That's the intent, to keep that circle radius or diameter where semi-trailer bus can maneuver the fastest path through that.
I think it's you really
drive up on top of it.
That's the intent
That's
too.
what it is
Yeah.
now.
And I think that's how that's designed, is the
Yeah.
semi-trailers or their tires are going to roll over the center of the roundabout just because they.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we don't.
Isn't there a sign that says that?
Yeah, they can.
Travel the island or whatever. It's
So yeah, so what I'm talking about would be like a raised section that goes, you know, around the outside here, that is typically like a different color and either brick or stamped concrete that's a different texture that kind of differentiates it from roadway. So essentially, cars are crossing
So here,
a bike crossing, not bikes are crossing a roadway. It creates kind of a different mindset. That's
You said
a
you
little
put,
safer.
you saying to raise it?
So
They're
it's,
typically raised. Yeah.
here's one. But I'm just trying to understand how this is, like mentally, how this is, because it seems like this is like the bike thing is a pure circle, right? Whereas here, it's almost like this, but it feels like we would almost have that if these were just. So if this were the path, was like a circle that just connected these things, but I don't know if that would.
You could even move these, I think, closer into the circle and get it a little bit more where you're using the current sidewalk right away that they have drawn here.
I
So
don't think
in a
they're gonna
sim-
wanna make it any bigger, because you're gonna get into that.
Right, because then you're gonna get into people's
And
front
you're buying
yards.
more real estate.
So
Right.
that would be,
It's probably not gonna
almost
work.
look like it's
Taking more
effectively
Yeah.
being scooped up.
Buying, taking, everybody will look at it, yeah. Harvey Insurance is gonna be unhappy about it.
Giving-
Whatever you're doing.
Giving fair market value or offering fair market value.
Yeah, for taking someone's parking.
Yeah, no, I think
If I'm not mistaken, I think part of the reason those crossings are a little further back is because of the yield process.
Yeah.
There's kind of a standard as far as where folks are yielding at, and then they want them to yield for pedestrians and cyclists a little further back instead of in the middle of the roundabout.
Yeah, the problem is that I don't know where the yield signs are, but I have a feeling that they're in front of those current crossings, in which case cars are never going to.
Well, they usually don't yield.
Right. Well, if you put the crossings in front of the yield signs, then they're yielding, and you're going to see a yield sign and possibly a person standing there, which would be more
People are
ideal.
looking to the right, either when they're making that turn. That's
Yeah.
what you get into, they're looking left where the flow of traffic's coming from.
So, at the very least, I think we could at least start moving in that direction. It'd be nice to get, I don't know if there was any plans to kind of do like the thermoplastic on the crossings. I think stamping it with either doing like a concrete crossing, a stamped concrete crossing or something like that, at the very least, at the current locations would be great.
Where the crossings are?
Yeah, the current ones.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, I think
But ideally,
something to make it a little bit safer.
I like the circle myself.
I like the circle. I don't mind the circle. I don't mind the circle. I just, and if it's this size, it's not really changing your right of way that much, right? It's just basically changing the shape of your.
You could even, you could.
I mean, it'd be interesting to know cost-wise if it could be done, if not on this one, like just what
On the next one.
it cost one, whether it would cost more or less, because we can go.
I think it might be slightly more if you're going to make it a different material.
It's in design now, and I think it'll start like later this summer.
Construction.
Well, I think it's worth asking a question about that one.
It's worth making a suggestion for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like this one looks a little bit wider, right, which does create land issues, right? And this one has a pedestrian crossing that's separate from the bike one too. So
Right, and it looks like it's in front of your yield areas, or at least in the same area.
That looks like if you took a right, you would almost run over someone. To the left, on that one up there, the picture you have, like when someone turns off, they're immediately turning into that pedestrian. Like look how close that would be.
right here.
You're talking about the
Yeah.
exit?
Yeah, like when you exit out of that.
Uh-huh. Well, it makes you much more aware whenever your circle,
Sure. I'm
your
just thinking
radius
it-
is decreased.
if you have a lot of people traveling that way.
Just-
it makes it-
That example there's a semi-trailer would not be.
Be able to do it. Yeah.
Which one? The last one? The first one?
I don't know. It'd be interesting. I do think if we could do some more things with colors and make the things smooth. Like here's another one that's this one's closer. That's from a different design, but that's a little bit closer to what we've got, where it's kind of swinging out and coming around like that. But anyway, I think we can do a better job on bikes and roundabouts for sure. So let's take an opportunity to try to do it for sure. I think the circle thing, it'd be interesting to know if there was good reason not to do it cost-wise or whatever else. So
Yeah, I guess and I can probably answer this myself, but my question would be, where are the yield signs in relation to the crossings here? Let's see, are those marked anywhere? I don't think they are. I have a feeling they're in front. Anyway,
I do like roundabouts. I think they're just tough with pedestrians and cyclists crossing.
they really are. And yeah,
They really are. I'm a big fan of them, and I think that's a great place for one. They're just tough with the way you have to flow in and out of it, and you're not looking that direction. The one at Prince is really tough for pedestrians, and it gets a lot of pedestrian traffic of how busy that roundabout is anyway, and like the people coming from Kroger, like walking northbound. I don't know how many people I immediately take that right, and people are right there. And they're just really close, and you're tend to be going fast through that one. They're just
Yeah, so that's how you get around it, is you kind of have to slow traffic down to like 5-10 miles
Sure.
an hour, which is obviously not design goals, I think, or were the design goals on some of ours that we currently have. It's
No, I mean,
maintain
definitely it's throughput because,
right.
yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. Like what the roundabouts do as much as anything else is we don't have to widen the streets because they can push more people through them, which is kind of what got me to thinking using all of the accessory streets to begin with. Like, hey, like don't take Prince. Like if like let's find another way to get there with a shared use path or with some other place just to try to keep cyclists, in different places. But like this is not that bad of traffic. Even this far west on Prince is pretty, it's not terrible, right? So, all right. Well, I think we've got some feedback on this, so we can at least get some clarity on what it is, and maybe we, see if we can
So
understand.
there's
why.
no official recommendation at this time. You just want more clarity on it. So
Yep.
I mean, possibly a recommendation on, can we get some kind of outer circle to make the bike?
I think
Are you
we
wanting-
need to make sure that people know that is like a preferred, but whether it's a green routing or something, like I think it needs to be clear.
yeah,
Some markings on the pavement
Yeah.
and like green or red. Or
Yeah.
whatever we
Some
wanna do.
green indication. I don't know exactly what it would be, but I don't think it needs to cost a fortune as long as it's easy to get in, like to me. That's the most important thing for me. But
Yeah, and I know there was an issue on, was it Donaghy and College, the roundabout that they rode for the bike tour, as far as knowing what to do as you approach it. So I don't know what the best way to address that is, but we may want to figure something out for that. Have some kind of standard that we apply across the roundabout design.
yeah. Sorry, guys. Where is that? Is that here?
I think one of the things in talking with the street engineers is like every intersection has its own challenges, so it's tough to just stamp it and say there's a consistent
System design.
design to it.
Well, at least some kind of
Yeah.
marking so that
Yeah.
cyclists know they can
Yeah.
either go up or
Yeah, I think that one is a simple, we just need to do some marking on the some signage and some marking on it.
I think they came down College. I mean, it's going to be the same for both directions, but
Yeah, this one it looks like you just have to make the decision.
Yeah, I typically
yeah.
Right.
kind of like my point on that is if I'm traveling with my kids, I stay on the sidewalk and use it. But whenever I'm riding, I'm on the shared use and I jump out at that drive and enter the lane and I just
Here,
use
Basically.
well further up right up there, right where, almost where your cursor is.
Okay, right here.
I kind of, I do a shoulder check and enter traffic there and use a roundabout like a car.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Right.
kind of have the benefit there of knowing what it is, though. So if you're thinking about it from a perspective of like when they did the bike tour, like nobody had done it before, and you just kind of roll up on it, and it's like,
well,
if you,
and that's what,
if
like
you
I
make
was,
the decision too late, it's like, oh no, I'm going through a traffic circle, and I wasn't ready for that.
yeah,
So.
I was with them and I knew what they were going to do. And so I'd let them go to the right and I bailed off and just showed them kind of that or whatever, just so they
Yeah,
saw it. But yeah, it was a point of discussion. We stopped and talked about it.
yeah. I think you really have to think about this from a perspective of a person who's who we just encourage to ride their bike more.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, okay, I'm going to try it. And then they find themselves in a traffic circle. Like, that's going to be a bad first experience.
No, totally. And this is another reason for me, like, hey, like Mitchell, right? Just is amazing, right? Like everybody can figure it out. It's very straightforward. So I think it's just something we have to like, I'm not saying we draw the map or print it like today. I just think it like, to me, what we don't want to do is paint ourselves to a point with roundabouts that like bike infrastructure is hard. I think it's like, hey, let's define the bike infrastructure where we know we've got routes and if we need to be especially accommodating on a roundabout or two, because there's no other option there, then like that would be like, oh, hey, we gotta have the Dutch roundabout here because it's not that much traffic and because like there's no other bike,
Yeah.
out west that gets more problematic because we lost our, call it, early 20th century grid in favor of, cul-de-sac planning in the, 70s and 80s. And so there isn't as much connectivity out here. So we may need, a few more accommodations or something like that eventually. But
Yeah, I'd love to say Dutch roundabouts on all of them, but I agree. I think it's hard to
just
convince.
start over.
Yeah, if we've got a better option, I think that makes sense. If we don't, then let's focus on good designs going forward.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. So this one, it sounds like let's get some clarity on it, and then maybe we can figure that out. I'm happy to spend more time on the map. So
Is there a formal recommendation on ensuring that the sidewalks are wide enough at pedestrian crossing points too? know
I
that
would
was
say
brought
we
up.
definitely want to make sure that they are. That is one thing for sure, that the entrance point is easy for people to get on without stopping and having to make a hard right turn. Like I think it has to be a nice obtuse angle so that people can easily get into them.
Like on 6th Street, they did on 6th Street.
Okay, I haven't
That's
ridden
a
there,
good
but
example.
it's an easy one. Yeah,
Mhm.
so it shouldn't be like stopping and turning right because that's a wreck waiting to happen. And then I guess the question is if it could be, do we need to route out quite as far as this shows, or could it be a little bit more round, like so it's a little bit narrower? I'm sure there's a reason why they put these things way out here, just so that people. I mean, I was crossing the roundabout at Harkrider and Winfield, and somebody just stopped right in the middle of the right in the middle. Like I got around and I just thought they didn't know what they were doing, so I honked at them, and it turns out there was like this like tiny old man like crossing like as slow as possible, and
Then you felt
I just
bad.
honked at the old guy. I didn't see him, but like literally the whole roundabout just froze because this guy, like took 45 seconds to cross, the thing. So I felt like a real horse's ass for sure. So it was a good humbling moment for me. So, okay, we've got a lot still to cover. Are we good on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to take a vote on that, on those two recommendations?
Yeah, we can, since you guys seem to be pretty firm on that.
Okay. So can we get a motion to?
So what can we repeat what those were?
I would say at a minimum that the.
You can make the motion as well.
And okay, I guess I can. So I will make a motion to make sure that the, thank you for your procedural help, AJ, I always appreciate it, that the entrance points to the sidewalk are open enough and easy, I guess an obtuse angle, so that it's easy for cyclists to enter the sidewalk, and that the sidewalks be wide enough that cyclists can easily ride, especially where the other pedestrian crossings are. I think that is my motion. Can you handle that, Kaylin?
Got it.
All right, can I get a second on this?
Second.
All right. Any well, I guess we'll vote here.
Well, I would amend that to say, with additional input to figure out kind of what the layout was. on
That's
this.
fair. Yeah, I would suggest.
So, and awaiting additional clarification.
Okay, I will second. I'll take that as a motion and I will second that motion. So oblique angles, wide enough for pedestrians with potential feedback to come once we understand the design better.
Yeah.
You get a vote? All ayes?
Yep.
Aye.
All right, look at that. Okay. We got a bunch. You got a bunch of things, Terry. So we'll just kind of go
So-
through these things quickly.
Just a quick update on cab bike share, the current locations off of College. At a space, the cab was working with the city to try and rent there's a building like a garage or whatever next to the fire department there on 65 Morrilton Highway there, just north of
Like by the come and go.
Donaghy,
Yeah.
next to or across the street from the come and go. That was about to go under signing of the lease and everything, but the fire department has decided they may need it for Pafford medical, so that's kind of in flux. one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up here is that there's in checking, there's no other city property that we have that we could move the bike share to a city-owned vacant property. So if anyone is aware of any property that would be suitable, we can.
How much space is needed?
Right now, they have about 400 square feet, but 2,000 would be, I would say, nice. 1,200.
Okay.
The 2,000 would be.
So this would be an acquisition, or this is?
Well, this would be like a lease. If it's a privately owned property that somebody's willing to donate to a nonprofit, CAB's a nonprofit, donate a portion, make it affordable.
Does it need to be temperature controlled or anything else like that, or is it literally
Well,
just?
currently they don't have any of that, so I think
Ideally.
like ideally that would be nice, but I think right
Hot
now
tub.
space would be
Ice bath? Yeah, no, I got it.
Little Rock's recycle bikes for kids is huge, and it's not air conditioned, and they build thousands and thousands of bikes for homeless and
Okay.
underserved folks and kids.
Would be a neat thing.
Yeah.
Is this just for storage, I guess?
Oh, storage and maintenance. The whole process of the cab bike share is that folks that just don't have the money to go to the bike shop, the ride has to do the repairs a certain way. They can't do anything that's unsafe, and so a lot of times it makes the repair unaffordable. Whereas you could go to bike share and you could piece something together so folks could get to work or that type of thing. So
Southern engineering,
yeah.
Is this something the city is possibly willing to spend money on? Like, are they going to purchase?
Well, the city, whenever that property was vacant, they were willing to lease it for like nothing, donate the lease to CAB. But now that the fire department's kind of come back and said we need it, we're back to square one.
Yeah, probably not. Ideally, buy something.
Does anybody have any real estate connections or anything else like that
I know a guy.
You know a guy? Well, I would say just everybody, let's put this, we'll put it on next month's business to look at again. When's the lease one out?
Well, I don't know the date that they have to move out of the current location, but I don't think it's urgent.
I'm thinking maybe Hendrix has some space. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. There is a bike share at Hendrix. I don't know how big it is, but it's right down there in the corner. But I'd say it's probably as small as the one we have, or smaller.
All right. Well, we'll put that in the minutes, and I'll send it out as a reminder for everybody.
That's just kind of a have your eyes open type of thing. The more people looking,
Thinking about that space.
about that space. So,
that makes sense. Markham Street improvements. I guess it's still.
it's in. Those are in planning. I've requested a copy of the plans once they get it to about 40% complete.
Okay.
Just based on verbals, it's going to kind of mirror phase one. So we'll need to get input.
That's an area too where I think it's like more experienced cyclists may not love the Markham connection from what I'm, but like slower cyclists may like it a little more. I do feel like when it enters kind of back into the road, maybe some sort of protection there wouldn't be such a bad thing, something to provide just maybe slow down right-hand turns and prevent people from getting turned into, I think. But, that'll be good. Donaghy Prince Roundabout, that's got to be getting close, right?
Yeah. So just, trying to get plans for that once I get the planning to about 75%. So we have you all have time to give the city input on that.
I thought they were working on that right now. Like it's under construction over there right now.
They're doing utilities, but
Oh,
the
okay.
actual,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, the utilities get moved months and months and months ahead of time. So
College side path. Where's that going to go from, Terry?
college, it goes from Salem
Fair.
to Ferris.
Okay.
A grant was received for that.
That is much needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a terrible place to walk.
There's also there's also 80-20 grant sent to Metroplan for a bridge at that College and Tucker intersection. So you wouldn't have to interact with the traffic
At all?
Yeah, there'd be a bridge. So
That's right.
well, I would say it's not necessarily a bridge. It's you would go under it, so it's similar to the Tucker Creek prints.
Okay.
But one of the questions I had was the design of it and how it fills with mud. The problem, and so the clarification I got on that is they figured it like that. Prince tunnel kind of has a crown to it, which holds the mud in there, and they've got that figured out how to fix that. So there'll be water will still get in there, but it's not going to hold the mud.
Okay. So they just can't clear at the
yeah.
moment.
So they're gonna do an underpass at college, you're saying?
Yeah, that's the plan is a underpass there. The Hawk is disabled at Salem and Tucker Creek because of the construction that's about to start for the underpass. So there's a flashing sign there. Yeah, there's a flashing sign there. So trail users, we're looking for a solution for trail users to try and get around that construction. And it may involve going into that parking lot, crossing at a flashing beacon further up. But we have to talk to the construction company to find out what kind of radius the cranes and everything are, because we can't get too close to the construction equipment. So they have to give us an answer on the radius of the construction. So basically there's some in that parking lot there. Can you blow that up a little bit? So you'll come down, you'll come down Tucker Creek, and at that back edge of the parking lot,
Like here?
you might have to pop in and then ride down through the parking lot, cross just south of that house.
Like here?
But we don't know if that's even doable without getting some clarification from the construction company.
Fair enough.
This is for a temporary.
Just a temporary go around while the construction's happening there.
This is going to be underpass as well?
That will be underpass also.
Okay.
So what's the term hawk mean?
The Hawk, it's a flashing Hawk beacon.
Okay, just the
Yeah.
name of the beacon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Push the button.
traffic light looking thing that
Yeah.
hangs over the road that confuses everybody.
Some of them you come up and you have to hit the button. Some of them recognize you and just start flashing. So there's.
Is there any idea, like in Bentonville, how long it took people to get used to those? Because when I ride up there, everybody stops whether you push the button or not. Or
They're just used to seeing bikes,
But it's
so
taken
many
a while.
bikes that,
it's taking a while for them
Yeah.
to get that one.
That's kind of the whole point of like whenever we talk, if you hear us talk about reaching critical mass, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Once we get to a certain point, and it'll be sometime probably after the Connect Conway grant is
Mhm.
done. So 10 to 15 years from now, we'll be pretty close to that where hopefully, like with your green routes, the protected bike lanes, all of that,
Mhm.
more people start
I think we can get
commuting.
there faster. I think
Yeah.
I'm going to keep being noisy to try to get there
So-
faster. So. But
So,
it does
yeah.
definitely, it takes the community to kind of accept it to really make things working. We've got like 7 minutes, so we're
Yeah.
going to keep moving. Anything here that is
So I think so there's a RFP flashing beacon being installed by Conway Regional there at college. So that'll be new. There's also one being installed by the library. And other than that, the only other thing was there's some community work days being posted for some volunteer work at the tech park, which is like where HP was. It's like the Meadows Tech Park. There's a 3-mile mountain bike trail that the
have you ridden it yet?
What's that?
Have you written it yet? Is it existing?
I've written a portion of it that's done,
Okay.
and there's part of it is there's some other parts that the money that we had for construction only built a portion of it, and there's
Okay.
the rest of it's going to be volunteer based.
Yep.
So we got 2 community work days. So February 25th and March 18th.
Where are those posted at? Like, how do people know about
I've
that?
seen them on
Facebook, Central Arkansas Off-Road Group, and then I'll get with the city and see if we can share them.
Said March what, 18th?
Yeah, March 18th, February 25th. It's like 9 a.m. to 1. Just kind of sharing it with the local cycling groups and stuff.
So yesterday, there was a mountain bike trail that was by the Ace Hardware. Is that the same place? Or is that different?
No, this is out at the tech park off of Stanley Russ and
Oh, yeah, okay.
Up here, right?
yeah, up
Out
there.
by Verco
Yeah,
Yeah,
area.
so it's a lot bigger.
it'll be a 3-mile trail.
It's just on the perimeter of this space.
It goes around the perimeter of the property, so it's
Mhm.
further up along the property lines.
Okay.
And down in that bottom left-hand corner, just above where it says Google, it zigzags all over those woods and uses all of the elevation. All of that's professionally built.
Okay.
And has berms, and we'll have some jumps and stuff. And then the rest of it just traverses the property lines and meanders around the park.
Mhm.
That'd be nice.
So
It's a good place to teach your kids how to drive if you're thinking about it. So it's pretty good. All right, awesome. Well, there's a lot there. I had this sort of strategic direction discussion. I think we already kind of hammered on that a little bit, so I don't think we need to cover that. So,
one other update I had to the Cadron Ridge Trail. Property's being sold, and we've lost access. If folks would ride from, say, Centennial, ride over the ridge and connect directly to the Cadron Settlement Trail. And property's been sold, and so now the trail is unable to connect, and I'm trying to find solutions to connect. But there's a road I want to intersect with and just cut over and use the road. The problem is it's county, and there's a few landowners out there that we're trying to have some discussions with. But
Is that, and I know people are doing it, myself being one of them, I guess until we're told no, but is it all right?
Recording up here.
yeah,
That's fine. I don't care. I'd say it. Going down the, like by the water tower, like going down
yeah,
that.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's city property. So yeah, you can go down by the water tower, and there's kind of a temporary around the gate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then just take the road back out. That's the best solution. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you really join in with 64. It's,
Yeah.
Oh, and then you ride in
Yeah.
on that.
Right
And
on the road.
and that's a pretty easy ride. I mean, it's 3/4 of a mile probably.
Okay.
A lot easier than the trail used to be there.
What's that?
A lot easier than the trail that was there.
Except it's not as fun to go back that way because that's a real hill.
Right.
Yeah.
Like going up to that water tower.
All right. Any other things? Any other business anybody else wants to cover? No. Well, I would motion to adjourn. If you've got nothing else. All right.
Second.
All right. You get a vote?